Hi and welcome back to Shorthand, the beautifully simple visual storytelling platform. Today I'll be speaking with Tarek Ali Ahmad from Arab News. Arab News is covering some of the world's most complex stories, from conflict to politics and regional issues that all demand gravity and accessibility. Tarek leads their research and studies team, and today we're going to be talking about how they use digital storytelling to make important journalism engaging without losing its impact. Hi Tarek, thank you for joining us today. Could you tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Arab News?
I am the head of the research and studies unit at Arab News. And this role essentially covers a multitude of aspects, but within Arab News, which is the leading pan-Arab English language news outlet, online and print in the Arab world, um, we have two sections. We have the news, the day-to-day news, which is X and Y happened on this day, the who, what, when, where, why. And we are the research and studies unit, which focuses on more long form content that's tailored to bringing context to certain things, be it taking a deeper look into different ethnic minorities that are around the region, as well as looking at different investigations into things like the drug smuggling scene within the Arab world, as well as the looking at the endangered wildlife in the Gulf and what's being done to kind of help foster it and bring it out of endangerment. So this is kind of like a wide scope. My role is the head, so I'm editing and overseeing all of these. I'm sitting down with my team of 4 to 5 people, journalists and researchers and reporters, that where we essentially pick and choose what stories are going to go into what sections. Within the RSU, we have research reports, which are just 2,000 words reports, and we have deep dives. This is where shorthand comes in. Deep dives are the long form, interactive, visual stories that we tell and use shorthand for, because shorthand allows us this ability to visually tell the story in an interactive and immersive way that just plain uh, headlines or articles don't give you. That being said, a lot of work comes into deciding what becomes a deep dive and what doesn't, as well as how long the deep dive is. As you know, as soon as we started working with shorthand, we've played around quite a bit with different ways of using it. So we've had some deep dives, for example, looking into the Andalus, which is the Arab conquering of the Spanish region. This was a 10,000 word deep dive that had multiple images, videos, scrollmations, and whatnot. And now we've gone into more shorter deep dives. We call them mini deep dives, where we have only one scrollmation, let's say, and up to, let's say, 4,000 words. This is mainly because of the the reading patterns of people that have been evolving over the years. Unfortunately, I am the only person within my age bracket that reads long form nowadays, sadly, um, just because of the fact that no one has the energy nor the time nor the will to read longer form pieces. Given our attention spans are so used to um, quick and fast-paced news that's come in bite-sized pieces, context is killed for the sake of speed. And that's what we're trying hard to bring back, because context, in a day and age when content is superfluous, context is king, as opposed to what used to be content is king. So this is where we bring shorthand in and try to make sure that we're having these people come in and want to read and want to go through this journey of storytelling through the shorthand aspect, as opposed to just being fed information and then letting them go.
With those mini deep dives, how do you make the content more concise?
So essentially, what a reporter does is the reporter goes out and gets and writes this beautiful piece, and in itself it's a great piece. But as the editor who's looking at it from outside, I have the role to essentially kind of pick and choose what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there, because every journalist's story is their baby, but they should not be treating them like your baby. They should treat it just like a story, like any other. Um, that being said, we always put and set a word count for per each story. Now, whenever I come across a story that has a lot of dates, let's say, or a lot of historical background that needs to be said before a certain thing. For example, let's look at the deep dive we did about the Druze. So the Druze are this ethnic minority in the Levant region, and there's a lot of history that looks into the Druze before you talk about the Druze these days. This is where we turn to graphics explaining this historical trajectory without it compromising from word count. So instead of having, let's say, 500 or 600 words or even 1,000 words just talking about the history and looking back, we'll have a timeline that explains exactly what happened in small nuggets of information throughout. And the scrollmation comes in handy for us because we essentially have like a long timeline that spans over, let's say, 3 images that's done in a scrollmation. So that essentially frees up 1,000 words. Another way to do it is video. So sometimes we've had interviews with um, certain people. Let's say, to continue with the example of the Druze, we've had an interview with one of the chieftains of the Druze tribes within Lebanon. And instead of having just his quotes fully written, we'd essentially select a spot where we'd slot in this interview and the reader can watch the interview itself. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that it frees up space. The bad thing is that when someone's reading on their phone and then suddenly comes a video, then they pause. So that kind of jars the reading flow and the process. I look at it in a way that whatever can be told visually, do it. So be it numbers, timeline, history, essentially explain. Like for example, the Druze have a specific flag, and it's made of different colors. So instead of writing that down, again, we have a graphic that we can slide in that explains exactly what each one of these has. We don't do long deep dives or regular deep dives anymore just because they're just too long for people to use, and people are reading on their phones these days. So they don't have the stamina to continue reading that long on their phone. As long as it doesn't dilute from the core meaning and the essentially the narrative, then then it'll be fine. It's better to be set within boundaries as opposed to free flowing, because when you're free flowing, it's just too far of a tangent that you never really stick to one line.
Looking ahead, are there any further changes that you're looking to apply based on user behaviour?
Well, definitely, and it ties into what we were just saying before. Look, I have an iPad. And the iPad is more similar to a desktop than it is to a mobile when it comes to shorthand. And it's beautiful to see shorthand deep dives on the desktop or the tablet because they really shine throughout and they have this whole widescreen aspect. Unfortunately, people read on their phones nowadays, so that's why we're gearing and tailoring towards the phone. The irony of our new kind of tests and strategies, apart from decreasing word count, is to also simplifying as much as we can. So when I told you something about the video, now we're implementing a strategy where no videos are embedded within. We want to cause as little friction as possible for the reader. As soon as the reader presses play and then pause, then there suddenly something could happen within these moments that could distract them from continuing reading. Um, Even scrollmations, for example, instead of having them too dense, we make sure to make them as simple as possible. Now, that is definitely a challenge for us as writers and editors and reporters. We essentially try and test and see how well it connects and resonates with our readers. Biggest testers are my wife, my parents, sending them the preview link, going like, "What do you think?" And their first reaction is either, "Oh, okay, there's too much going on," or okay, they're flowing through. Yes, it's a flowing story. I understand. Very important for us as the editors, creative designers, reporters is to not take things too seriously in the sense of this is we're writing for these people, so we shouldn't be holding this content so dearly as to kind of defend why it's done this way. The whole point is to have them read it. So if I'm just gonna want to read it the way I want to read it, it's not gonna go anywhere. I always have to think about everyone else who's reading it, as opposed to us who are the reporters who are so heavily invested in these stories. So that's essentially the kind of try and test aspect. Humility is a huge part of this job, which unfortunately is not really a characteristic, I could say, that is known for our industry.
How do you balance the need to inform with the need to engage readers?
It's a good question. And yeah, that is essentially it's the current battle, I guess, that journalism is fighting these days, which is why I go back to the saying that context is king. Nowadays, for example, whoever wants to know that, let's say a bomb exploded in Beirut, okay, and someone goes on, instead of people coming, they don't come to us to figure out that this happened. They could go online, just Google bomb Beirut, and then they get the numbers of how many killed, who did the bombing, and whatnot, and what happened. They come to Arab news to get more context, to understand why this happened and why this bomb exploded. Why are these people targeting the Lebanese people? Why is this group ISIS alive? Where did it come from? So this is where they come. So this is where we separate the deluge and slop of AI that just brings all this news together to the context and the intellectual context that journalism offers. When it comes to using, let's say, shorthand with that, we have to pick and choose why we chose this story to be a deep dive and the other not to be a deep dive. Journalism no longer is a means that targets everyone. So people go to Arab news to read about news in the Arab world. They don't go to Arab news to read about the U.S. elections. Well, they come to the Arab news maybe to read about how Arabs feel about the US elections. So we have to think in a mindset of who we're tailoring to specifically. So we have to take it upon our role by defining it more and more and finding that specific niche that we go to. And again, humility is a big part where uh, we're not catering to all. We're catering to this specific target audience, and this is who we're going to work for. So when it comes to deep dives, this is again looking at people who want to know more. The Druze, go back to the Druze. Not everyone's going to want to know about the Druze, but the people that want to know about the Druze will come to Arab news to go in depth more into this aspect. People who want to know more about the history of the drug smuggling scene in the Arab world and Captagon will come to Arab news to look into the deep dive about it. So this is where it's a balancing act of using our editorial judgment and our target audience's wants and needs and understandings to kind of offer them the premium product that we do versus trying to compete with the rest of the world, including news outlets as well as social media, as well as citizen journalists, as well as AI, to kind of tell the story of this happened then. Back in, I believe 2019, we did a report about the future of media, and we realized that it was 77% of youth got their news from social media, but that percentage decreased over time to, I believe now it's about 59%. So this shows there's a trend where, while yes, news, it does come and appear on Instagram or TikTok or whatnot, people then go to the source to know more. So there is this kind of hunger and curiosity to know more and to dive deep into more reputable, trusted, and verified sources.
I wanted to ask if you had any closing remarks about where you saw the news and media world heading in a digital storytelling space.
I repeat the punchiest line of all, that context is king nowadays, and really it's this is what separates news from the kind of tabloid journalism that comes through. You seek things to know more and understand more, while you seek information, as in like fact-based information from anywhere else. Understanding your product, let's say that's my product, is the context within, and understanding the reader is the most important thing as a storyteller. You can be someone, or we can always think about, yes, we've been fighting uphill battles forever, be it through the rise of digital first, then the rise of social media, and now the rise of AI. But the best thing to do is not swim upstream, try to make it work for you. And as long as you're offering premium content and you're doing well and you're writing properly and you're essentially doing the right thing, the views will come, the people will come, and the readers will continue going and entering your section.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Tarek. It's been really insightful to hear how Arab News approaches digital storytelling. If you're watching on demand, I'll link all the stories mentioned below. And if you're watching live, I'll email them over to you. Thank you so much for watching.